Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. This is a regulation workshop informational part of the meeting. Agenda item number 9A, Commission General Regulation 419 LCB File R158-12, Trapping Trail Closure. Chief Game Warden Rob Buonamici. The Commission may adopt a regulation relating to trapping, prohibiting trapping adjacent to specific trails and roads in Clark County.
For the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Buonamici. Just to kind of go over just a real brief overview to bring everybody up to date. This regulation has been a result of various meetings and so forth that have been held by the Trapping Committee. And LCB file number R-15812 is the version. I know I've had several questions. Well, it doesn't show what the Trapping Committee motions reflected and so forth in the regulation. The official copy we got to work off of is what LCB provided us. So based on that, what we sent out in the support material last week was a version that was highlighted in yellow. And that version is based on the LCB draft version, but it also incorporated the changes made by the Trapping Committee through their motions. So what I'll do is I'll go through, I think probably the easiest way would be to use the one with the yellow highlights in it. And that way we don't have to go through it twice. And we brought some copies if you don't have any. And then anybody that needs copies in the audience, if you don't have it, David has got some. Okay, so basically what this NAC does is it takes an existing NAC 504340, which incorporates closed areas to hunting and trapping. And it has the areas, if you go to page 3, about in the middle, under 8B, you'll see the Washoe County trapping restrictions. That's been in there, that was adopted, and that's why these restrictions for Clark County were inserted in this NAC. It's for consistency purposes, so you can look in one spot and find out areas closed to trapping. So under C, 8C, or actually 10C, excuse me, trapping is prohibited other than with a box or cage trap within 1,000 feet of each side of the following designated hiking trails, campgrounds, and picnic areas established within that portion of the Humboldt-Tioga National Forest that is located west of U.S. Highway 95, north and east of State Route number 160 in the Spring Mountain National Recreation Area. And then you'll see the red writing with the red line crossed out. This is a result of the trapping meeting discussions and motions to simply try and reorganize what we had submitted to LCB and what LCB had put together for us. So the areas that are included are 1, the Bristlecone Trail, United States Forest Service, trail number 148, and 2, Cathedral Rock Trail, 3, Echo Little Falls Trail, and these all have the numbers associated with them. 4, Fletcher Canyon Trail, 5, Griffith Peak Trail, 6, Mary Jane Falls Trail, 7, Mummy Springs Trail, 8, North Loop Trail, 9, Robbers Roost Trail, 10, Sawmill Loop Trail, 11, South Loop Trail, 12, Trail Canyon Trail, 13, Dolomite Campground, 14, Fletcher View Campground, 15, Hilltop Campground, 16, Kyle Canyon Campground, 17, Mahogany Grove Campground, and 18, McWilliams Campground. And then the additional areas were the Deer Creek Picnic Area, Cathedral Rock Picnic Area, 21, Cathedral Rock Group Picnic Area, 22, Old Mill Picnic Area, 23, Foxtail Group Picnic Area, 24, Sawmill Picnic Area, and 25, Blue Tree Dispersed Recreation Area. Then under D, trapping is prohibited other than with a box or cage trap within a half mile of any residence in the Spring Mountain National Recreation Area, including Township 19, South, R90, R59, East, Sections 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 16. And then E, trapping is prohibited within 200 feet of each side of the following designated roads: Max Canyon Road, Powerline Road, Telephone Canyon Road, Champion Road, Cardamine Road. Then under number 2, the provisions of paragraphs B, C, and D of subsection 1 do not prohibit the lawful placing or setting of traps or snares inside a fence on private property that is located or partially located within 1,000 feet of a trail specified in paragraph B of that subsection, or a road, trail, campground, or residence specified in paragraph C and D of that section. And then number 4, as used in this section, box or cage trap means a device that is designed or contain or confine any animal within a box or cage. The term does not include any device that is designed, built, or made fast to close upon or hold fast any portion of an animal. And then residence means any house, room, apartment, tenement, or other building designed or intended for occupancy as a residence. So what we've done is put together maps to give you a basic overview of the areas we're talking about. And there are portions that are described in regulation that are not on the maps. And the reason that is the GIS program didn't allow for us to put those certain portions on the map at this point in time. But if adopted, we will obviously work on refining that so we can include those on a map that's available to the public. The second map should have 2 maps. One should have a little red circle around some sections of land. And then the second map should be a more comprehensive type map. And then we've had concerns from members of the public, with regards to the maps don't depict everything that's described in language. And again, that is addressed and covered with the language, and that's where we need it covered first and foremost. And then the maps would be secondary. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Just a minor item. When you were going down the list of the campgrounds, you got to number 16 and you said Kyle Canyon Campground, but mine indicates and picnic area. I just want to clarify that.
Oh, that's correct. My fault, sorry.
Just to add to the discussion on that, it actually should say "and campground." I think that's one that the Forest Service is going to decommission as a camping area and make into a campground. So we put or a picnic area, I'm sorry. So what we did is put the "and" picnic area in there, so when that transition occurs, it covers both of those designations. Just from that was from committee discussions.
Anybody else? Seeing nobody, it's informational, but we do have public comment allowed on this one. So, cards, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm going to go through the cards. If you haven't filled one out, please get it up to us as soon as possible. I'll just go through these in order that I got them. Unless you're representing an organization, you'll get 3 minutes, and I'll just hold my hand up when you get to about 30 seconds. So, first one is Fred Volz.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Fred Volz, V-O-L-T-Z. Our state's 1,088 official trappers should want to operate far away from the general public. With over 2 million annual users of the Spring Mountain National Recreation Area, the intersection of trapping and a largely urban, non-trapping user base is an unhealthy combination, pregnant with possibilities for injury and fear. Trappers need to realize that it will take only one child, adult, or companion animal caught in a negligently placed trap to trigger a public outcry. Knee-jerk reactions will necessarily impose harsh restrictions on trappers' future activities. Ours is a large state, and there are many other places for trappers to trap animals. Trappers need to behave like adults and realize that they can't trap anywhere they please when public safety is at serious risk. Similarly, why shouldn't NDOW take reasonable precautions to prevent avoidable injuries, lawsuits, legal fees, and settlement expenses caused by unreasonable trapping policies that a sharp personal injury attorney will successfully attack? NDOW is embroiled in multiple litigations based on the listing in Agenda Item 17G. It must spend its limited resources defending its actions and interests, which does little to promote and foster wildlife in our state. Does NDOW need to waste more money on avoidable litigation by failing to adopt reasonable restrictions on trapping in congested areas? The 1,000 feet setbacks in Washoe County and the Lake Tahoe Basin are precedent for what should happen in the Spring Mountain area. The 5 roads that were just listed and their spurs need a 1,000 foot setback, not 200 feet, on either side for non-box, non-cage traps, still leaving substantial acreage open for trapping. The Wildlife Commission could reasonably ban all trapping in the Spring Mountain National Recreation Area, given the heavy usage by non-trappers and concern for their safety, but that step is not up for consideration today. The Commission's Trapping Regulation Committee and the Clark County CAB have ignored the 11-4 public testimony favoring a 1,000 feet non-box and non-cage trap setback on both sides of these 5 roads. Public policy making is supposed to take the public's cumulative interests and opinions into account when making policy. The August 28th and September 18th meetings of these 2 groups ignored the measured, thoughtful input of local residents and users who are intimately familiar with the terrain and the clear hazards to public safety. Take the obvious, prudent path and add each side of these 5 roads into the 1,000 feet provisions of Section 10C. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Blakeslee, Nevada Trappers Association.
There's finally one that's tall enough. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name's Joel Blakeslee. I'm president of the Nevada Trappers Association. I wasn't really going to come down today, but the fellows down here asked me to come and kind of make a closing argument along with theirs. I'd like to start out by commending Commissioner Macbeth and Commissioner Wallace on their wild horse comments. That was refreshing. We talked about goals. I would say that the Trappers Association, as we segue into the trapping issue here, we have the same goals as the people on Charleston and the people that wouldn't have us trap at all. And that's not to have any issues with dogs or the general public. We have the exact same goal, at least what the stated goals are. This morning, as I was collecting my thoughts, it came to me, what exactly started this thing on Mount Charleston? Can any of you think of a single incident that started this thing? I mean, can you point to one dog that was caught that started this whole thing? I can't think of an incident that did this. So where did it start? This thing started in Washoe County in 2007. This is an ongoing roller coaster for the trappers in this state. There are people that would like to kill us with a death by 1,000 cuts. You know, the cuts keep coming. What you guys are going to decide tomorrow or not is, number one, are you going to cut us? And number two, how deep? This is a game that started out with basically a predetermined loser, if you will. Unless anybody ever considered taking no action whatsoever on Mount Charleston, it was predetermined that we were going to lose something. And we're as much at fault as that as anybody, if you want to call it a fault. I don't necessarily think it's a fault. We put out a product that we thought was reasonable. It covered the campgrounds. It covered the Forest Service trails. It covered the high use areas that were readily identifiable. And the concern that I have is that was the place where we started, rather than the place that we ended. And that's a theme that you're going to hear from me as we continue on this, is I'm interested in finding the ending point of this, because I've been doing this since 2007. That's 6 years now, and I don't see the end in sight. I'm interested in finding an end to it. Anyway, I better get on to this. If there wasn't a problem that starts this, it begs the question whether we need to do anything. And I would like to ask you to consider that, just for the thought of it. Should we do anything? Was there an incident? I know of a couple of instances, but you know, they're 10, 13, 15 years ago. I mean, there's like 5 incidences in 15 years. Is a dog that's caught every 2 or 3 years something that we should spend our time and treasure over? It puts me in mind of gun incidences. Every time somebody goes in and shoots up a theater or a school or something, everybody calls for, let's take the guns away. Let's create a regulation. Let's do this, do this, do this. Is that going to stop that? I don't think anything that you guys do tomorrow is really going to change the amount of dogs that get caught on that mountain. There'll probably be one caught every 2 or 3 years, no matter what we do. My purpose today is to give you the official position of the Nevada Trappers Association. What we have agreed to do is go with the Clark Cab's recommendation. And that's basically everything in the printed material except for the designated roads on item 10E, with the exception of Max Canyon, and we would agree to a 200-foot setback for the first mile on that road. Our reasoning behind that is the places Powerline, Telephone, Champion, Cardamine those roads look a whole lot like the rest of this state where we trap. And we're concerned about getting the ball rolling through the rest of the state. I don't think the people that are opposed to us would argue that that's their goals down the road. And that concerns me. That really does. That's pretty much what I have to say. You know, we're suffering from the 1,000 cuts. I've been being cut since 1977 on this business, and I expect I'll be being cut until 2067 if I live that long. So anyway, I thank you. I'd ask you to vote on this if you take action at all to go with the Clark County recommendation. Thank you.
Jean Perry Jones.
Hi, I'm Jean Perry Jones. I live at 44-7 Aspen Avenue in Mount Charleston. I'm also a property owner in Lower Kyle Canyon by Scotty Road, and I have testimony as well as some questions following my 3-minute testimony for you. Thank you first off for supporting all the efforts that have been made to date. You're getting a lot closer to the recommendations of the town advisory boards in the Spring Mountain Range. 200 feet, by the way, is about from the parking lot to this microphone, so it's not very far in a distance. I encourage you to support and strengthen the Commission Regulations 419 draft and then to increase some of the setbacks. I want the written record to show that the communities whose letters you have with the requests from like Mount Charleston Town Advisory Board, Mountain Springs Town Advisory Board, and some other of these that are going to be presented to you. I request, and I also request this 1 mile setback for traps. So these communities are asking in their own communities, they need a 1 mile setback for these traps. This 1 mile setback should be from all roads, trails, parking areas, structures, campgrounds, picnic areas, recreational areas, and ski area boundaries. For instance, the ski area lifts on this map in front of you. The lifts you can put traps on the lift areas here, and those ski areas are open not just in the winter months, but they're open this year. I mean, like Sunday, they're having a big Shakespeare event. There's chairlift rides, and people are using that area a lot. So we want that. The 1 mile setback should be open for all roads and trails, designated or not. The public uses all roads and trails oblivious to their designation. For example, my street is not designated by Clark County, although it abuts the Mount Charleston Elementary School. Also, residents of Lower Kyle, Sandy Valley, Searchlight, Mount Charleston, Mountain Springs, they support the 1 mile setback, as there have been numerous issues with traps set too close to roads in those communities. And there have been many pets that have been trapped and injured from these traps. In the Mount Charleston area, it's a recurring problem with pets trapped and injured in traps. A 1 mile setback is needed. Trapping is listed as a recreational sport, and as such, calls for a level of physical activity. Walking a mile to set a trap supports the goal of recreational sport. Population growth, multiple use aspect of our public lands push crowded recreational users deeper off-road, necessitating trappers to move even further. A mile setback from human activity. It's a critical public health and safety issue. I'm a member of Civil Air Patrol and Search and Rescues, and we have done many rescues on the mountain of people where we're walking by places where there could have been traps, and a lot of these, such as the autistic boy here in town recently, you know, they have no, we need the mile setback. My questions are these, if you would please, and this is not the testimony, although these are questions I would like you to address on these trapping issues from the town board actions, and that is, when can we then do a legislative forum of looking at things such as mandatory IDs for traps, mandatory signage to warn citizens of the dangers and flagging of traps, visitation of traps 24 hours, allowing the public to tamper with traps if they pose a public health and safety issue, reporting system accountability. As was pointed out, there is no reporting system, so you have no idea of how many animals and people have been trapped in traps. And finally, public service announcements on radio and TV to inform public where trapping occurs so that people can plan and then make sure that their pets and children are leashed in these areas. Thank you.
We're going to try to stay on topic here, so who you got next?
Dave Stillwater.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Dave Stillwater. I'm District Director for the Clark and East Nye County Trappers Association down here. In the beginning, when we came on up with this map, I was completely against it because once we were giving up something and we didn't really have to, in my opinion. But in common sense, what our map did that we came up with was basically no real honest trapper would put a trap in any of these places, because every time we go on out and put a trap in the ground, an honest trapper, and 99% of the people are honest trappers, they look, is there a chance for a conflict with a dog? Is there a chance for a conflict with a person? Stay out of the campgrounds. It's just basically common sense. There's many places I pass up, and all trappers pass up, or at least the majority of them, that they don't put a trap down there just for fear of something happening. And the land out there, I thought it was for everybody's use. It seems to me like, okay, I live in Vegas here. If I want to take my dog on out, I got to take it to a park or have it on a leash. Out there, they want to close all these trails down so they got their own personal animal walkthrough, I guess. But basically, it's multi-purpose area. You take your dog on out, you go hunting on out there, you're walking on out in the desert. There's more danger from cactuses, snakes, than catching somebody's dog in a trap. Make a long story short, everybody should be allowed to use this area. I mean, common sense is you don't set in picnic grounds real close to occupied roads. We already have game wardens that will write you on up tickets and everything if you do something illegal. If anything, in my mind, if somebody does something illegal, write them up a good ticket, get them out of there, because we don't need that type of people. And another thing that I'm really worried about, and this is a little off topic, then I'll get on out of here, is I'm worried about people getting set on up. I mean, okay, they say 200 feet. We go on out, put the trap in 200 feet, 250 feet.